crazy girl decided to start a fight school in the middle of a hippie community. Everybody said I was crazy. I mean, I was thinking about 4 sticks and some string at one point because we were so desperate. So I went to the manager of the hotel that had been kept and I said, listen, my friend, cage has been gifted to me. Can I please take it? He said, no ways. There's 40,000 rupees of outstanding bill in this place. And until that bill is cleared, nobody's taking that cage anywhere. And we went from 2 hand pads and a pair of boxing gloves to what we have here now. Had to start Tribal Warriors. I mean, basically, once I decided I definitely wasn't leaving Goa because I took a 6-month visa. And once I decided that I definitely wasn't going anywhere, then I sort of had to sort of survive. So I started teaching a few like personal private classes. And then a couple of girls approached me and asked me to run a sort of private session with them. One of them had a small cafe. And so that grew, and then they asked me to teach their kids, and then we got too big and we shifted somewhere else. So just organically, we've kind of grown, and we went from 2 hand pads and a pair of boxing gloves to what we have here now. And again, it's grown magically and organically over all these years. Art of Combat was started 2018. One of my husband's friends, who's a local businessman, he said to me, how come nobody in this community knows what you do? I mean, we were sitting and chatting one evening and he was like, how come nobody knows this? How does nobody know that we have this amazing school and here it's right in our community and nobody knows about you and nobody knows what you do? And what would it cost for you to put on an exhibition of what your fighters, what your gym is doing and what values it has to our community? So I said, well, we did a little bit of costing, and I said, well, if you give me 20,000 rupees, I will put on a fight night, but it will be just an exhibition show because it will just be our fighters. So I got 20 of my fighters together. We arranged to borrow the Goa Boxing Association's boxing ring, and then 10 days to go, they rang me. I rang them up and said, listen, can we arrange to come and collect it? And they said, well, we've decided that you can't have it because we don't know you. And maybe you're going to ruin it. And I said, but I've got 10 days to go and I've got no money and I've got all these fighters. And they said, well, I'm sorry, but we just can't give it to you. So we started this mad scramble to find something. I mean, I was thinking about 4 sticks and some string at one point because we were so desperate. And then I remembered about this cage that we have here. I'd actually fought in it. It was my one and only MMA bout. I fought in this cage in Tito's in Mambo's in 2015. And the cage had been promised to me. The guy who made it, David from Tito's, had said to me it had gone missing. There's a long other story, but someone had used it and left it somewhere and nobody knew where it was. And David had told me, if you ever find that cage, you can have it because I know you're going to do something with it. So we had 10 days to find the cage. Long story. Finally, the person that had the cage, after multiple days of hounding and bugging and telephone calls and begging and pleading and all kinds of things, they finally disclosed where the cage were, where the cage had been kept. But it had been like left outside for 3 years on this beachside property. So basically, the person that had it said, "Listen, that cage is destroyed. There's no ways it'll be rusted to pieces. You won't be able to do anything with it." I said, "Listen, just tell me where it is and let me go and make that call." So finally, we got it. We went, we found it. All the wood, the floorboards had disappeared. The jungle had grown through the net, but it was there. It was intact. And we'd found all the padding and everything was there. The canvas was wrapped up in a plastic bag, just kept. So I went to the manager of the hotel that had been kept and I said, listen, my friend, cage has been gifted to me. Can I please take it? He said, no ways. There's 40,000 rupees of outstanding bill in this place. And until that bill is cleared, nobody's taking that cage anyway. So I said, well, if I clear the bill, will you give me the cage? He said, yes, of course. So I went and borrowed a bit of money here and there and took some money out the bank and got money delivered by a friend. I rang up the owner of the cage, David. I said, David, listen, I found the cage. Is it still mine? Yes, Bonnie, it's yours. Take it. So we went, we paid the 40,000 rupees. We collected the cage. We put it together one night. We sanded it, painted it, put it up. We had no money, so there were yoga mats on the floor and yoga mats wrapped around the steel. But that was the first Art of Combat. So we managed to stage the event, and it was such an amazing success. We had like 20 fighters from Tribal Warriors in it. We had 200, 300 people of the local community there, from grannies and kids and moms and dads. It was just amazing. 4 years ago was the first ever Art of Combat, the 29th of April. It was a really an auspicious day. That's why I chose this weekend, because it was also the day that I won my European title fight, and it was also the day that I was sanctioned to fight for the world title fight, also here in India, but unfortunately that never happened. But the 29th of April is like a really magical day in our lives. So yeah, that's the beginning of Art of Combat. It's been amazing. I mean, initially, when me, a crazy girl, decided to start a fight school in the middle of a hippie community, everybody said I was crazy. But we've changed hearts and minds. I mean, now all the hippie kids are here training with us. The parents love what we do. They can see the value it has for these kids. I mean, if anything, the most awesome thing about all of this, and this was evident last night in the show, is how magical the sport is for youngsters, for everybody. But what amazing, beautiful qualities it instills in these kids from such a young age. Really, I want to cry what happened last night, because I mean, from a personal level, with my two boys fighting in that semi-final to go and take on the state champion, those two boys, they've known each other for years. They've trained together. I've told them that one day they're going to have to fight each other, because they're like the two best fighters in Goa. And I said, at one point you will end up facing each other, and you have to know that and be able to deal with it, and you have to be able to give each other a hug, whoever wins or loses, and come back and train together tomorrow. And it was magical, because when both of them, they had a big hug after the fight. Of course, hearts were broken and egos a little, but again, even that's the beautiful thing about martial arts, is those egos are diminished. You know, it was a magical show last night. I think the kids' event was spectacular. And that's why we get such an amazing response from people, because they can see, you know, what this does for the youth. Yeah, and it's growing. I mean, every time we put on a show, I meet some more people. I'm introduced to some more gyms as we're like introducing the title fights, and you know, it's something now that is really something that the guys want to come and do, come and fight for those title fights, and we do everything with love here, you know, and I think that kind of it resonates, because we're getting a really amazing feedback from other fighters in gyms. After the fights, we get amazing feedback. The gyms are happy. They're sharing our numbers, our contacts with other people. If I'm looking for a fighter, gyms will like just immediately share the number, the names of other gyms that I can connect to try and find fighters. We're getting a really amazing respect and response from the fighters and gyms in Goa. It's beautiful. It's really magical. The future is spectacular. I mean, just now, really, all my dreams and hopes are coming to fruition, because this is what I saw. I knew that the combat sports scene in India was just bubbling. It's like really, it's about to explode. And so really, we're in the right place at the right time. And I mean, the future is it's magical. There's just it's endless, the possibilities that we have in this country, because for certainly there's money there. We just have to find the right people who love the sport and are ready to invest in it. I mean, already it's happening on one level with the Matrix Fight Night. It needs to filter down a little bit, so we've got more of these shows, you know, to build and to grow and to use as a platform, you know, just to get these guys up out into the world, because the scene is massive. Now we just need some investors to plug some like money and support us and help us to grow bigger and better. But I mean, the sky's the limit, really. It's amazing. It's an amazing place to be at the moment.